Just quickly go over the last few functions we did last week on min, max, average, and total. So this function min ifs is actually only available in the most recent version of Excel. So some of you probably tried to use it and it didn't come up. So the way you can check, you go to File, Account, and mine is version 17.07, which is the most up-to-date. So this is not going to be in any homework or exam. So, but it's good to know that if you have the latest, you can use it. Okay. Also, another way just to show you what this, let's say, the total, the sum if, how that works. So if you sort this list by type. So if you notice here, let me hide a few columns, just focus on the total and hide, and let's say hide these two and fit everything on one screen. So let's say newspaper, these trackers newspaper, correct? So if I just get the total of the newspaper, if I look down here, they're 13,414, which is what you see here. So this is as if you sort them by type, and they will give you the subtotal for each type. This is what the sum if means. So this is the sum of the total column only if the type matches what's here. So this will give you a subset of that total. Same thing for average or anything with if, count if, sum if, how many will do that. So as if you sort them by type, which is the range of the criteria. So this is the range I'm comparing against, but this is the one I'm adding up. So only if the left column matches my criteria, then include the total associated with that. Is it clear? Any question on this? Yes.
So minimum and max if?
Yeah, min and max if, they only work with the latest version of Office. If you have earlier one, even 2016, probably you won't have it.
So there's no way that I can combine two functions to work like minimum and max.
What do you mean by that? I got your email. I didn't get exactly what do you mean. How do you want to combine min and max? Means what?
So it's like combining, like, let's say two different functions together to work like minimum math and max math.
So you mean if you want, you can later on when we get to the custom functions, user-defined functions,
Okay.
That will be a case actually when you can build your own.
I see. Okay.
So think of all these functions in Excel just like it's a Swiss Army knife, or just like Lego with different pieces. So you need to be able to figure out which pieces you need to put together to get to the final shape you want. So we have different tools, different pieces you need to play with. So this week we said we're gonna go over logical functions. The main one is if, and then there are more, but these are the main ones, and or and not. So this is how you'll be able to check different conditions to be able to get one result. So in general, logical function has one output, which is it's a logical output. If you remember high school math, it's either true or false. So you check one condition. If this condition is true and this condition is true, then the output is true. Okay. We're gonna go over the slides first. I have a couple of slides here. Hope some of you went over them, but okay. So we're gonna go over and if error. And if error, I think we already seen it, so we know how to use it, but we'll stop by it. And if, so that's how you test for multiple conditions. Not and or. So start just quickly. And or basically it's a combination of, you can check the test of multiple conditions. For example, the or condition, you know what, we'll go over the slides quickly. So the and condition, how it works. So you have the input of typically two conditions. One could be either true or false, either one of them. So you have four combinations of states of the input, which are P and Q. So the and is just, you can associate it arithmetically like to multiplication. So if it's only both inputs are true, the output is true. If either input is false, the output is false. So this is the argument. You put two arguments, logical 1 and logical 2, and that will give you the output of those. Is it clear? So we'll see some examples. For example, take your set as students between different majors and programs. So I need the students who are masters in accounting. So the degree has to be MS, and the program or the major has to be accounting. So both conditions has to be met for this output to be true. So if MBA and if masters and accounting, then give me that student. That's my list. If either one of them doesn't match, is false, then this is not the right group. So both criteria needs to be true for the output to be true. If either one of them or both of them is false, the output is false. Or is kind of the opposite. If either one is true, the output is true. So only when it's 0, 0, which is false, the output is false. If I say, give me the students who are either masters or accounting, then this is the group I need to address. So you could be masters in something else, statistics, as long as your program is MS, or your degree in accounting, you could be MBA in accounting. So either condition is true, the output is true. Okay. Not is clearly is just the opposite. If I say, give me the students who are MS and not accounting. So that's the whole MS program except accounting. So now in this case, I'm using combination of and not. If I want to just keep it simple, give me the students who are just simply not accounting of any program, or simply not masters. Who's not master here? So if you're not masters, raise your hand. You all masters? No MBA students?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm saying. No, but it's not master in science and not MS, I mean. Okay, so who's not MS program? This is the same thing as I'm saying who's MBA program in this case. Okay. So it's going to be a little bit of a brain teaser when you need to put these conditions together. If statement. So the if will give you will need to provide a logical test. And this could be simply one field or one cell that has a value either true or false, could be has a value 0 and 1 will be treated the same. Or it could be a condition just like you use an and or not. And when it's tested, it will return true or false. So what happened, basically, you tell an Excel, test this condition I'm going to provide. And if this condition is true, then show me this value. If it's false, show me this value. And with this, we'll use nested if. For example, we'll say if this is true, show me this value. If not, this could be another if statement. If not, test for something else. And then this sub if, we'll see, okay, so if it's true, do this. If not, do that. We'll see example around that. You can test multiple conditions. So you do the first logical test, and the result, value 1, will be the result if test is true. So if this test 1, if this is true, then value 1 is true. Typically, this can act as if you only provide 1, but you can provide 2. And then will be, if this is, then if not, then if this is true, show this value, otherwise show another one. I myself rarely use this, but it's there for you to use it. If error, we've seen it. If you suspect whatever value or formula in Excel may return invalid value, either like an A or value or any like weird looking symbol, you can put it here with an if error. And then if you don't want to show that weird value, you can pick what you want to show. It could be just blank, which is like a simple, you can do double quotes, 2 double quotes, or you can put a 0, you can put a dash, whatever is appropriate on that value. Any question on this? Okay.
Can you go over the ifs again? So that's sort of like.
This one will be clear when we see an example.
Okay.
Here's just strictly syntax. Any question on these? Yes.
So for the error function, hypothetically, if you ask it to spit out a 0, would Excel recognize that 0 as a number?
If you're using that cell in another value, another formula, yes, it will take the 0. Because only the value of that cell will be used as an input, not necessarily the text. So this is how the if statement works. So this is an example. And do a flowchart. Let's take the grades. So you get your grades overall final as a percentage, then it get converted to a letter, right? We don't want to go through all the grades A, B, C, D with all the plus and minus in between. We'll keep it simple. So this is our grade. If your grade is greater or equal to 93, you'll get an A. If not, it's between 90 and less than 93. Notice the less than equal, greater than equal, and strictly less. There shouldn't be any overlap. If it's exactly 93, you should be able to tell, is it here or here? Is it A or A minus? It's 93 is A. 92.9 is A minus. 90 included. If it's between 88 and 90, then B plus. Other than that, it's called need more practice. Okay. So this is the logic test. You'll be provided. Think about how would you do it manually. You have a grade. You will test it. If it's greater than 93, then it's A, and that's it. You're done. You don't test for anything else, right? This is top-down approach. If it's not greater than 93, that's still not conclusive, right? Still don't know. Could be A minus, could be B plus, could be anything. Down check. Even though now at this point here, we know it's less than 93, but is it still greater than 90? If yes, then you know it's A minus. If not, it's another test. We need to check if it's greater than 88. If it is, then we know it's less than 90, but greater or equal than 88, then it's B plus. Otherwise, there's one option left, is NFP. So this can be translated into nested if. Every diamond shape, this is an if statement. And this is if yes, and this is if no. So the whole block here will be part of the if no of the first one. Actually, let me see if I can. So the whole section here, let's see if I can do draw with a touch. Whole section here, this will be the if no of the very first if, the value if no, or if false. So we'll see how that works. So let's start. We have these grades to give them a letter grade. So this is the first if statement. I need to put a logical test. The first logical test is this one, is B2 greater than or equal than 93. If it's true, this is value if true, which is A. If not, this is the value if not. This is if false. Start again. Need to put now another if statement. If B2 then greater than or equal to 90, if that's true, then it's A minus. Otherwise, now I need to do the third test. If B2 greater than 88, then it's B plus, otherwise it's an NP. So another way to present it, this is how you check. If B2 greater than 93, if you want to break each one by line, it's A. So this is the value of true, and this is the whole thing is value of false of the very first if statement. Then you check if it's B2 greater than 90, then A, otherwise check if it's greater than 88, it's B plus, otherwise it's NFP. So this is nested if. This is this one, the bottom one, inside this one, inside O. This is a recursive if. You can do the logic the opposite. You can check from bottom up. You can check first, is it less than 88? Then that's it, it's an NP. If not, then you check, next check, if it's greater than 88, you need to check, is greater than or equal, is it still less than 90? Then it's B plus. Otherwise, you check, is it still less than 93? Then it's A minus, otherwise it's A. Same logic, same way, but it's reverse. So this is what called upper bound, and this is lower bound. You check if it's less than 88. Otherwise, you check if it's less than 90. It's B plus. Otherwise, you check if it's less than 93. It's A minus. Otherwise, it's A. And this way, you can translate automatically. So we'll see other ways actually how to do the exact same functionality using lookup references as well. There's different ways you can create the same functionality. This is using VLOOKUP, but I'm not going to do it now. We'll do it later. Any question on this? You want me to go over it, repeat it again? So let's see how we can just theoretically use and or, actually XOR, ignore that. So this is when you have two inputs conditions, you have four combinations with two. Either false, 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 true, true, false, and true, true. They're not sorted this way. So false, false, true, 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 false, or false, false. If you have three conditions, how many combinations you'll have? Anyone CIS major, math major? 8. 2 to the power 3. This is 4 because you have two conditions. You have 2 to the power 2. You have 3 conditions. You have 2 to the power 3. You have 4 conditions. 2 to the power 4. You have 16 combinations and so on. So if both false, this is how you use AND. AND C2 and D2 will give you false. So this is simply, I just wrote false here. So AND will give me the output of this. So AND of false is false. The OR of false on false is. So as we see, you provide the logical statement for each input. You can put more than 2. But we're going to just play with 2. So these are the ANDs. You see the ANDs are only true when both of them are true. The OR is always true except when both are false. So think about it like for school eligibility, right? Sometimes you'll tell you prerequisites, just like for this class. You have to have either stats or accounting. If either one is true, you're eligible. If you took either class, good. It doesn't require both. If it's both, they will say you have to take this class and this class. So unless both of them true, then you won't be eligible. XOR ignore it. Not is simply just the opposite of G2, the opposite of this. So the opposite of true of false is true. Opposite of false is true. Opposite of true is false. So simply just reverse logic. So let's take this example. We have a couple of applicants. We have age, height. So one condition is the age has to be between 15 and 25 and the height greater than 70. Think about it, you're applying for the Army, for example, or Air Force. You know, the Air Force, you have you have a limit on not necessarily the height. Strictly, they have a limit on the length of your femur. Especially going to be jet fighter pilot. If you're longer than certain limit, you can't eject.
Oh.
From certain planes, you'll crush your knees.
Yeah.
So they have this physical, in many places they have a physical limitation. So this is simply a condition. They will check on the age is correct, but the height is too much. So the output is, actually no, the height is over 70, so the output is true. So he's eligible. So here I use two conditions. I use AND. So two conditions has to meet, has to be true for the output to be true. If this is my situation where two conditions both have to be true, then I need to use AND. So what's the first condition? C11 has to be greater or equal than 15, actually more than 2. Then C11 also has to be less or equal than 25. And D11, which is the height, has to be greater than 70. All these conditions must be true for the AND to be true. If any of these three conditions is false, then the output will be false. Then automatically see, oh, this candidate is not eligible. Same thing here. I need to kill this thing. It's simply the same condition, but because of the value, it's 65, so one condition is false. Okay. I can use it, do if statement. If C11 is the age greater or equal than 17, then this is the age test. So here, these two, I'm doing the age test. Is greater than 17, it simply shows the test 17 or older. If it's less than 17, younger than 17. So this is where these texts came here, just testing for the age. So let's say you want to also check how many, yes?
So the difference between and if probably if it gives you a result, the required result that you would want, and will just reply, give a true or false. Is that it? You can't.
Let me put it this way. There is no correct answer. You can reach your goal using different tools.
So I can nest and
So, and for example, you can this give you true or false, right?
yeah.
I can add to it if statement here. If, and if this whole thing gives me true, I can type in eligible, right? Otherwise, will be ineligible. So I just want to put it here this way, so at least you can see the like bare bone. Let's just give you condition true or false. At the end, this is a logical output at the end now. It's true or false, so you know you can put it in another function to translate that in something more consumable, like a text or a value. Maybe it's based on this, you want to assign a numeric value, like a scale from like 1 to 4, or so on. Yes?
Will you be able to put the first two conditions together, like 15 is equal, is smaller?
You cannot put it like 11 less than C11 less than 25.
You have to.
You can't, doesn't work this way. You have to test each condition separately. I mean, you cannot, I know what you're saying. You want to see here, you want to put like if 15 less than C11, oops, less than 25, right? That's how you want to do it? No, Excel doesn't get this. You need to test each one separately. Because ideally that writing, which is kind of more of human writing, it's a combination of both. You want to check if C11 is greater than 15 and at the same time less than 25. So let's say also you want to check if, let me put this as retirement check. We want to see how many years an applicant has till retirement or till certain age. Okay, so let's say retirement age is 65. You want to see if it's above, if it's older than 17, how many years is left. Otherwise, if he's underage, just put 0. So this will be the test. If C11 greater than 18, then give me 65 minus C11. Otherwise, put 0. So there's different ways you can create extra output from your data so you can sort it and filter. It depends what you want to do with it. So what I'm trying to show here that the value of true and value of false could be a text, plain text, could be a formula, could be another if statement, could be a number. So you see if I change this to 20, this will drop to 45. Is it clear? Okay. Now something quick here, you notice sometimes the color helps you with what's true and false. And the way we did that, we're gonna touch base on that later, but it's called conditional formatting. When you put it this way, it's not really clear. You can't tell which is which. So to do that quickly, can you use conditional formatting? You have highlight, data bar, color bars. We're going to get to that later, but just quickly, you can highlight specific color if it's equal to. By default, the first one is red. I1 if it's false, highlight it in red. And do another one. If it's equal to true, highlight it in green. So if I come back and type this false, it's going to automatically go to red. So we're going to see the conditional formatting later in detail. There's too many options and it's cool tool. Any question on this? Do data validation. Who have ever used data validation in Excel? Just one. Good. Can have fun here. Okay, let's say you have ID, you have age, has to be between 18 and 65. So let's say you're entering a list of, you have some data about, you need to enter ages of some applicants or anything. So you need to validate the data. So the data you already, a certain column, you have certain conditions. So in this case, when I say age 65, I put a typo like put DF, and how can I make Excel refuse this entry? Because it's not valid. So I highlight the range I need to apply the data validation for. So under data, we have this option, data validation. By default, all cells they accept any value. Could be number, could be text, could be anything. But we have different options. We can only strictly entry to whole number, decimal, specific list. Could be date, time, or text length means the entry shouldn't be longer than, I don't know, 10 characters, or so on. In this case, the age, what should it be? Whole number. Now, for each one, you have specific options. Look at these options. Could be between or not between, equal to, not equal to, greater than, less than. In my case, what should I pick? 18 and 65. Let's stop here and see what happens. So if I type 14, give me error. I have to hit escape and go back. So 19 will go through. So here's the other thing. Now, if you want to be a little bit more fancy, you don't want to show generic answer or message. You go back to data validation, and then you can show the alert. So first you can pick the icon. Is it warning? Is information? Stop. And one more thing I want to mention. And then you can customize your message. Here, for example, I put invalid age. That's the title, which is similar to where it says your data validation. This will show up on top. And here you can type in your message. Please enter a valid age between 18 and 65. So now if I go back, put like invalid entry, put 90. So you can be very specific on the data validation. Yes?
Can we add further data validation in this thing? Like it cannot allow a decimal number or something like it.
It doesn't allow the decimal number?
Yeah.
So this list I showed you, this is right out of the box, what Excel has built in. You can put your own custom validation with VBA code. Basically, we'll get to that when we get to VBA, but overall, anytime you put an entry, you can put a code that will run every time a cell is, the value is updated. Then you can run some code against it to check that value, and if that's not good or according to certain condition, you can reset the value of the cell, put it blank, and pop up a message. So if whatever your condition, you cannot put it together using this list, you can customize that. So this is a number. For example, if you want to put a name and you have a limitation, 20 character max. Actually, before that, let me just do one thing. On the side, you can have min age and max age. So this could be dynamic. In this case, we're going to start with 18 and 65, right? So if you want to change this condition without opening the dialog box, come back here to this range and go back to data validation. Now we typed it in, right? If you wanted to reference a value in a cell, you click this, it's N1, hit enter. And the max.
I did not find the answer to your question.
Power off. Okay, sorry. And the maximum one is in N2. So now, if I put 17, hold on, did I accept all of them? Between N1 and N2. Okay, why did it take it? Not take that. This is weird. Why is Excel failing me? Oh, it's N2. I know why. You notice the first one is N1 and 2. The second one is N2 and 3. Right. need to use absolute reference. Now just check it quickly. Yes. So now if I put 17, it's going to give me error. If I change this to 15, put 17, it'll be okay. Now, yes.
Does the data validation work for formatting also? But
Or no, it's only on the value.
only value?
Yeah. So one more thing, you notice something disconnect now. You have 15 to 65, but here the title reads 18 to 65. So we can change this to a formula. We'll put this static text, age, and then instead of 18, what do we put here? And 1. And put a dash. Oops. And what's the second value? And 3 and 2. And we close the parentheses. So if I change this back to 17, the validation changed to 17, and the user input is changed to 17. The only thing that's not going to update with that is not this one, the custom message. This one here. So you may want to put something a little bit more generic without this specific value. So now if this says, if I enter 15, it's going to give me error. If I change that to 15, I put 15 here, it'll be okay. So this is data validation on the age. Let's check data validation on put date of birth as well. So on the name, instead of any value, has to be text length. We said how much? 20. Has to be less or equal 20. So if I type in something long, it's not going to let me do it. John Smith will go through. So if you have a long name, it's not going to happen. Date of birth, you may be putting data and you have a restriction. Let's say delete here. If minimum age is 15, there's another way to do that. That will be then the minimum date of birth or the max date of birth. So max DOB equals what? What gives me today's date? Today. Hold on, let's figure this out. I cannot put minus 15 because that will give me minus 15 days. How can I do minus 15 years?
15 times.
Approximately, yes. It's not really the accurate formula, but we'll go with that, and we'll make this formatted as a date. Ideally, you will take the month and day of the same of today's date and the year minus 15. Because this does not account for leap years. So you'll lose a couple of days. And if you're doing anything for any government agency, the local or state, this will be a problem. Because there is still a little chance some qualified people that this formula will make them unqualified.
Did you do 365.25?
Yeah, no, there's other way to do it. So if we have time, we'll do that. But where's the? See, this is what I have all the low resolution because I lose my menu. Short date. So the DOB, in my head, DOB means something else because I worked on a project with New York City Department of Buildings. So always remember that. So validation for this one will be what? Data validation has to be a date That's what? Less or equal to this. So if I put 1,1003, it will not let me. To put 1,2000, it will go through. Now, if you want to do exactly 15 years now, that will be date. The year is what? What's this year? How can I get that? Is the year of today, correct? This is the year. Hold on. This is the year minus what? Minus 15, correct? So from today's date, we extract the year, we subtract 15. That will give us this year. No, let me break it up this way. Let's just put this here. Year, month, day. So equal year of today, 2017. Month, today, which is 9, and day of today, 11. Now I'm going to use this to do year minus 15, right? So this is the new date, and I want this to equal to this. So this is today, and this is 15 years ago. Now I need to put this max date of birth, which is I need to create a one date out of these three, right? So we use the date function. Equals date of what year? I7, month, this, and this. Now, how can I get this without writing all these? So as I mentioned to you the other day, we do a substitution. So this reference is what? If I go to formula and do trace precedent. So this formula is fed from these three. So let's start with the 11. So K6, which is this one. So it's day of today, right? So this is, we'll replace this one, day of today. Get the same thing. Now I can delete both without any problem. I'm not going to delete them, but do that. This is the month of today. So I go back here. I remove the reference to J7. I replace that with its formula, which is month of today. Actually, let me see if I can do. By the way, here, if the formula is too long, you can expand the line. Why isn't it doing it? I don't know why. There you go. I don't know why it's not working. Trying to expand this part. For whatever reason, it's not expanding. Oh, hold on. Let me change the touch mode to mouse mode. Okay, this will do it. So year, month, and day. So this year is what? Is year of today minus 15. Let me put it together. So the date takes 3 inputs. Year, month, and day. The year is today's year minus 15. That will give me exact date 15 years ago. Then I'll pass the day from today's date and the day of today's date. That will be year, month, and day. Hit enter. So if I delete these, basically the formula will stand on its own without any precedence. I'll leave these for you guys so you can see it. Okay. So then you can use this in the data validation. In this case, so every day you'll enter new data or you check for applicants, so this date will always be up to date. Okay. Let me quickly check now. Data validation, there's other stuff. You can use decimals. You can, list actually. List. Let's see. Education level. How many education levels we have? Let's say high school, undergrad, graduate, postgrad. This one actually guys probably going to use the most. So for the education level, if I strictly need to be one of these, this is one of the most annoying parts where people just type in these values and with typo you end up with bad data, duplicate or extra data that could not be categorized. So to limit that, you put a data validation and you pick a list. So list, you could simply just type it here. Let's say start with simple 2. I don't think I need double quote. Let's say high school and undergrad. When you do that, you have the option to use a drop down, high school or undergrad. Or you can simply reference a list. So instead of typing all the values here, we'll use this. So if you start typing something else, it's not going to let you. You can either type it. If you type it, it has to be exact same word. We'll take it. Otherwise, you can simply just take a value from here. Any question on these? So this is a high level, how you can use data validation for numbers, for text, for dates, for lists. By the way, you can do customs and you can put your formula here. This is to answer your question. And that simply the formula has to return either true or false typically to say this value is valid or not. You can have decimal actually, same thing in between. So the difference between decimal and whole number we're not going to allow you to use decimal points. If you put a value with like 10.05, it will reject it. So if it's valid for decimal, it's automatically valid for a whole number because a whole number at the end is a subset of decimal. So if it's true for valid for decimal, it's going to be valid for a whole number. Date, time, and text length, yeah. This option applies for all of them, is to include to allow blank or not. If I don't want to say ignore blank, means the moment I added this, I cannot leave it blank. You have to put a value. It means it's mandatory. So you use this to do that for any type of validation. And this drop down actually is optional. Also, you can get rid of it if you don't want it for whatever reason. You can uncheck in cell drop down. Then the value has to be typed in, but also has to match this. So see, you don't see drop down. If I put even HS space, it's going to reject it. I'm not sure even it's case sensitive. No, it's not case sensitive, so it should be fine. Any question on this? No question? All good? For me to repeat any part?
Excuse me.
Sure.
Date of birth.
Yeah. So date of birth, let me just double check the validation. We said it has to be less or equal to the date you put in here in I3. So we have a date here. We'll check later how we did the date, right? So whatever date you enter here in this column, first let me just quickly do something quick. Don't ask about this now. This. So when you enter date of birth, hope I didn't ruin the validation. Hold on. Has to be less than this date. So if I try to enter January 1st, 2005, it's not going to accept it because it's greater than this date. Okay, has to be less. We'll take March 5th, 2005. Oh, no, not do it. Let's do 2000. Oh, 2002, right? Okay. So this should work. Just like numbers, date also you can do between, could be less equal, greater, or not equal to. Sometimes you may have a condition like anything is accepted except certain value. So this is when you pick not equal to. So here you have all these logical combinations you can think of. Yes?
Since this isn't, I guess, formatting sensitive, if I were to write in like March 5th, 2000, would that still filter?
If Excel takes it as date, yes.
Okay. So as long as it reads it as a check.
Right, as long as it recognizes it as a date. If you, once you enter it, if you go here and you see it's a custom or date, it's not general, then you'll be fine. Any question? So we did basic if, nested if, and or. Okay. We're going to start with the VLOOKUPs today, and we'll continue with the other match index on Wednesday.
What was nested if?
This is like the if within an if statement.
Oh.
The one we did with the grade. If and true, false, yeah. Which is basically it's this type of workflow. It's not just simple one condition, true or false. So back to the VLOOKUP. Actually, we can use this example here. Let's fill a couple of, hold on. So it has to be a list from these four. Okay. So let's fill these data here randomly. Let's say in our functionality here, we want to assign each education level a scale or a value. Call this ed level. Score goes from 1 to 4. Okay, the higher your education, the better. You score more. So how can I translate this using, let me hide these, using this table. And let me add a new column here called ed score. Let me copy the formatting from here. How can I populate this with the right score based on these values? VLOOKUP. Who knows how to use VLOOKUP? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 50% approximately. So VLOOKUP, think about it as you have it's a manual operation. Always think, how would you do it on paper? You have your reference paper, which is this. And as you go through the list, you look at this one, you go here, you start scanning this list until you find a match. And you see what value is associated with that match. You take that and you put it here, right? So the lookup function in Excel does pretty much exactly the same. So VLOOKUP. So when you do this manually, what do? As if you took this value from, you want to get the reference, the matching value for. So this is your lookup value. I'm going to look up for what? E2, right? Where? What's your reference sheet? This area here, right? And if a match is found, let's say this area is more than 2 columns, I highlighted 2 or 3. I need to return the value in which column? Always, this is column 1. I said if I find a match in column 1, and VLOOKUP always gonna trying to find a match in the most left column. So don't select this because this value doesn't exist here. You need to start with the column you're looking into. Return up. And once you define where's your reference area, here you need to specify which column to return. If I find a match in column 1, give me back the value, the matching value in column 2. Here's the other option. Does Excel has to look for exact match or approximate? In this case, has to be exact. Approximate works when you have these like ranges of numbers. Let's say you have the lookup is like 5, 10, 20. Let's say you're looking up for 17. There's no exact match. We'll give you approximate, means it's going to give you the one between 15 and 20. Pretty much at this point, it's going to be probably 15. I need to check. But it gives you the one that's closest to it. So in this case, it's going to be exact match, which is false. So if I copy this, I highlight here, and I do special paste of formula.
I think you skipped the column index.
No. So let's look as I go down what changes. The range is sliding down. So what I need to do, I need to fix the range. So L2 times 5 is not relative, it's absolute. So no matter where you're using this lookup, it always has to look here. It shouldn't slide down with each one. And don't ask how many people make this mistake. So let's try again. Right click and paste formula. So with this, let's say I made a mistake entry here. Actually, it's not postgrad, it's graduate school. The value automatically update. It's clear? Okay. Now, the other VLOOKUP with approximate is this one. I'm looking for 80. This is my translation table on the grade. If it's less than 88, it's an MP, and it has to be in ascending order. So same thing. I do a lookup for 80 here, and this is specify the area, the range. Index, the column index is 2. This is the difference between the one we just did. So the range lookup, approximate match true. So even though it's 80, it gives me the lower one. So if it's 88, give me B plus. Because if you notice, the condition is greater or equal than 88 is B plus. So if you arrange your reference sheet this way, anything less than 88, so the value, anything between 0 to 88, including 0, will return this value with the VLOOKUP with approximate match. Anything between 88 to 90, including 88, will return B plus. So if you have this type of data where a range of values should return one letter or one output, you can use the VLOOKUP with approximate match. Yes?
If you you want if error in that, do you start with if error? Is it equals if error?
Yeah, always you start if error and you first put your formula, and if it works, then take the whole formula, put it inside if error. Right. For example, this is, you can use this value, and let's say you work in a lab, and let's say you do blood analysis, blood test. Let's say your cholesterol level or your sugar level. Usually they go with ranges. Range between this and that, and then this is okay. If not, then you know what, need attention or so on. Because there's so many values between, let's say, 0 to 40. Could be anything. I would say anything between 0 to 40, return this status. It's red, green, blue, whatever that is. So this is could be in finance, you're doing stock trading. You're checking how much the market stocks went up or down. You have your own code. You said less than 5%, give me red, other 5% is green, and so on. Yeah.
How does it know that range when the VLOOKUp? Like, what is it? I guess in your VLOOKUp, how does it know that between 0 and 88, it's going to be?
Because I'm asking Excel basically, I'm providing B2, I was like, take the value in B2 and run it against this reference sheet.
So it instantly understands based on the sheet, it'll know your range?
Right, because
Okay.
79 is basically, and this is again, the approximate works with numbers only.
Okay.
So with 79, Excel knows 79 is between this value and this value.
So, okay, so if it's in order, that's what it knows.
That's what I'm saying. This has to be in the right order. If these were mixed up, it's not gonna work. Because Excel starts from top to bottom, assuming they're in the right order. Otherwise, it cannot tell which range, which is which. So that's a condition to use the approximate match. The reference list has to be in order from the smallest value to the highest. And the reason the function called VLOOKUP is called vertical lookup because the list is listed vertically. The mirror one is called HLOOKUP. You can use that, but barely use. This is the same thing, but only if the data is same thing, but arranged horizontally, which I never used. But just in case, 1 in a million, you have that situation, you can use the same one.
The range should be horizontal or the data?
No, the data should be horizontal. So the lookup, the value you're searching for has to be in the column.
And so in this case,
And each one has a matching one.
That to be 2 and then yeah.
So it has to be in this format. The other one, if you take this, you do copy and paste, transpose, will be this way.
Okay.
So I never had this situation. Any question? See, it's fun and easy to. Okay, I think 8:41. That should be enough for today.